What's up, y'all? I am on the road again. I'm out here driving on the road again. Yeah, I am heartbroken today at the loss of Chadwick Boseman, and which feels like a decaying cherry on the top of a shit pile sundae that is whatever it is that 2020 seems to be interested in delivering to the collective. Now, there are a couple of things, because just as I said that, it started a second thought for me, which may play into this or not. I don't know if it'll go together at all, but it certainly feels like an addendum to what I'm going to say, because the piece about it is the collective, right? That we're having a collectively trash-ass experience. And I think it's important for us to know that, right? It's collectively trash. And I think that in part it's because the universe really wants to get us to recognize that we are interdependent, that the experience is a collective one. It is not an individual one. While also reminding us that for many of us in our individual lives, we are having some of the most profound reflections that we've ever had in the entirety of our existence, right? That we are having some of the most illuminating revelations about our lives and about how our lives intersect and interact with other people's lives, and about what we've been afraid of and what stories we've been telling ourselves and which ones don't serve us anymore. And so we are having this collectively shitty experience, and then inside of it, many of us are having profound and beautiful experiences. And if ever we're being given the great both and, as I have talked about in the past, the ability to hold that which feels obliterating and the ability to hold that which feels magnificent at the same time, we are being given that in this particular moment. And I think it relates a little bit to what I want to say about Chadwick and just a reflection of this particular moment. So my homie, grape and lemonade Kool-Aid co-conspirator in the world, Amber Abundance, posted about us being mindful not to celebrate the ways in which Chadwick Boseman, worked through the end of his life, and the ways in which capitalism, will just strip us of all that we need, including our need to rest, for the purpose of extracting our labor. And I want to hear that. Not even just I want to hear that, I absolutely agree with it. I 100% agree with the assessment of what capitalism does to us and what the systems of oppression do to us in terms of stripping away that which we most need, right? And then forcing us to do the things that we don't need to do. But I want to complicate it. And I want to complicate it only because I think it's important that we be in the complications. I think it's important that we grapple with the gray areas of these circumstances, lest we miss the collective and the individual, lest we miss that which is our interdependence and that which is our independence, and the ways in which those things get to play together, right? And so the analysis of the collective nature of capitalism and what it does to us collectively is 1,000,000,000% true and resonant for me. And so yes. And one of the things that keeps sitting with me, and it's sitting with me, and it's the anger that I hold at systems of oppression for making things complex that really that other people get the opportunity to have be easy. When my grandmother died, I talked about how my grandmother's death was a clean death. It was a clean grief. The same way when Anastasia died, it was such a clean grief. And it was a clean grief because it did not feel complex at all. My grandmother lived to be 83. I would have loved for her to live longer, but I asked her for 15 extra years. She gave me about 7. But she had a full and glorious life, an amazing, rich, vibrant, complex, spicy, beautiful life. And I got to know her in her fullness, and she shared with me her life in her fullness, and I was so grateful. And so when she transitioned, I felt nothing but gratitude for having had the chance to travel this journey with my grandmother and having had her be assigned to me as my grandmother, and sadness that I would no longer have her in this physical realm. That's all that was there. There wasn't nothing else. There wasn't I wish we had or I didn't do's, and I'm so grateful that I didn't have that with my grandmother. What oppression does is it makes what should be a clean grief messy. And that's, I feel, one of the things that it steals from Black people the most is the ability to have the clean grief that we deeply desire and that we deserve. Because in a clean grief, if Robert De Niro had been diagnosed with colon cancer, and which is a majority fatal cancer, a very few number of people survive colon cancer. Colorectal cancers tend to be particularly deadly. And, if God forbid, I'm certainly not speaking this over Robert De Niro's life. I'd like him to continue to live a long and rich one. And at this point, it would still be longer than Chadwick Boseman got to live, right? Who died at the same age as me. But if Robert De Niro did get a diagnosis and spent the last 4 years of his life making the films that heralded the people whose stories he most wanted to see told and giving us great art, I don't believe that we would say, that capitalism worked Robert De Niro to death. I think we would say that artist chose to make art that they found important to them with the last bit of time they had on this life. And shouldn't we all aspire to get to do that, right? To do the thing it is that is most inspiring to us, and to get to have that be the way we go out. The reason that it is complex for Chadwick Boseman is because we don't know the extent to which the decision to make the art that he made was not driven by the fact that we live in a world that erases the stories of the people that he chose to portray. That he knew, and we know, that we live in a society that would have Black people and all of their accomplishments be lost to obscurity. And so Chadwick Boseman, it is likely in the context of doing the art that brought him so much joy, also felt a deep sense of responsibility to Black people to put out the stories of Blackness that would need to outlive him. And so we are left with the complexity of, did Chadwick Boseman choose to make art because he was an artist, or did he choose to make art as revolution because oppression demands it of us? And because capitalism and the constructs of a white supremacist capitalist heteropatriarchy has constructed a world in such where if he didn't go do it, it's likely that it might not have got done. And the sadness lives in the fact that we won't ever know the real answer. That we can't know the real answer because that's what oppression steals from us, is a clean grief. A grief that would just get to say, look at that brilliant black artist who gave us so much beautiful art. And we are so sad he's gone. That's what a clean grief would get to be. But black people don't get a clean grief because white supremacist capitalist delusion steals it from us, as it steals so much from us. And so I hold with 100% honor Amber's question for us to think about. And I hold with 100% honor the possibility that Chadwick spent the last 4 years of his life doing exactly what it is that he wanted to do as an artist in the world. And I hold with 100% truth that we will never actually get to know. And of all the things that I grieve, it might be that I grieve the most. All right, y'all.